Welcome to the Uncanny Academy of X-Men. I'm Jared, and today we are doing another list. So I figured let's talk about the X-Men movies this week. We're going to talk about this article on Vulture that's all 13 X-Men movies ranked. Figured that'd be a cool topic to cover. But first, I would like to say I hope you guys are enjoying our daily content. We're going to start doing this more of like a regular upload schedule to be able to like provide our usual quality content to you guys. I love you guys because you'll watch us and you guys keep this YouTube channel alive. So anyway, let's talk about all 13 X-Men movies ranked. First off, I just want to say this was like the first movie franchise. First off, I still maintain, and we talked about this when we talked about the X-Men movies, that they were the first MCU. Like they were the first like cinematic world for Marvel characters that was established. It's unfortunate it wasn't done with characters like Iron Man 2 at the time. What I mean is that we couldn't see more of like the Avengers in this, but it was the first time we saw like this interconnected movie universe. And I liked how when they updated, like did First Class and stuff, they still tied it to the other movies. So these movies are some of my favorites, some of my favorite superhero movies of all time. Some of them less so, but I enjoyed a lot of them very, very much. So let me start off here. So number 13, in other words, the last X-Men, the least great X-Men movies, X-Men Origins Wolverine. Yes. Okay. So first off, as it mentions here, the terrible version of Deadpool. I can't believe, I don't know what they were thinking to do this version of Deadpool. It made absolutely no sense. Second off, the CGI on the claws was just terrible. Because if you notice, there are a few scenes where like he's like trying out his new adamantium claws in the mirror, and you can kind of see it like jump, like move around on his knuckle as if it was entracked into his hand properly. I love how Marvel, how like they solved that issue by just making like a little attachment that goes on his wrist that has the claws. You don't need to CGI the claws. The heck are you doing? And plus, there were two like they looked remarkably CGI, like to the point where it decreased it significantly decreased the value. The only good part of that movie is when he's walking away from the helicopter as it explodes. That was primo Wolverine content right there, and I will die on a hill to say that point. But the Deadpool thing is what really kills this. Really kills it for me. It's like, oh my gosh. You literally took this was like with the Taskmaster issue in my Black Widow review. They literally took a character that's known for making jokes and like puns and quips and shut him up. I do not understand what they were thinking here. And they made the swords like come out of his arm. By the way, the blades were so long that he wouldn't be able to straighten his arm. That doesn't work. And they gave him the ability to like, they gave him basically every mutant power. I'm like, what were you guys thinking? It makes no sense. All right, New Mutants. This one was a weird movie. And I agree with its placement here. Actually, I would place it a little higher, but based on what I know were in the X-Men list of movies, yeah, it's fine here. But New Mutants, I think it was weird because a lot of the characters just weren't that compelling. And the plot was kind of hard to follow. So it wasn't really, yeah. So I'm going to read the blurb on this. One of the strangest things about watching the New Mutants, other than the fact that you're watching a movie in a movie theater in the middle of a pandemic, it's true, is that it is an original film meant to kick off a series of movies that, you know, while viewing the film are never going to exist. Yeah, it's meant to like kick off a new, I guess, XCU, but you know that it's not going to happen because that's the last one of the Fox thing. So it's weird. The tortured history of trying to get the New Mutants made and released is so well documented at this point that the movie feels DOA within minutes. And nothing in the confusing, clearly spackled together by studio execs, tonally disparate horror fantasy mashup does anything to dispel the sense that you've come to watch a dead body. Yeah, it's true. It is kind of weird because you're watching a movie that was significantly like that. X-Men Last Stand. There were some parts in this that were good, but the Phoenix plot was horrible. Horrible. There were some parts in this that were legitimately cool. Like as I said in the last week's awesome X-Men moments, where Wolverine is fighting that one dude that keeps growing back and he keeps cutting him, and the dude's like, "Come on, dude!" And he just kicks him between the legs, and then Wolverine goes, "Grow those back." That was cool. But once again, I hate when studio executives think they have to improve upon like a storyline that's literally one of the, if not the most famous X-Men storylines of all time. Some can argue God Loves Man Kills is the most well known, but for the purpose of this discussion, we're saying it's Phoenix. Next is Dark Phoenix. I like this movie. I actually like this movie because I mean they kept the basic idea that it's this chaos force in the universe. My only problem is that they didn't bring in the Shi'ar, who were very important to like the X-Men like universe at this time, and they had these weird aliens that were like shapeshifters, but I didn't get the Wolverine. I like this movie a lot. I think it showed a lot about Logan's character and established like what a tortured like guy he is, because he's going through the guilt of having to kill Jean Grey and he just wants to die. That's one of the reasons why I think that this is a fantastic movie and should be farther. X-Men Apocalypse. I know Lad will agree with him on this. This deserves to be much farther in the list. In other words, higher up on the list, because it was I really enjoyed this. How it changed a lot of the origins for like Storm becoming an X-Men. It had the awesome Quicksilver scene. I liked Apocalypse. I like this depiction of Apocalypse, but after seeing the one that was like in the X-Men animated cartoon and being such an avid reader of X-Men comic books that I am, I feel like they really could have improved on the character. Okay, Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2 was really good. I would put that higher. And Logan, are you kidding me? You're putting Logan that low on the list? Really? I disagree with that wholeheartedly. X-Men First Class, that could stay there because while it was good, it's hard to make a good X-Men movie without Wolverine. Deadpool is 4. I would say it should go there as an X-Men movie compared to the other X-Men movies. But when you take it on its own, it's like the Deadpool movies are like, if I have to count movies other than DC, because obviously the Snyder Cut's my favorite superhero movie. We've already established that. But of my favorite non-MCU Marvel movies, Deadpool is up there because of it. That is when they completely nailed what makes Wade Wilson such an amazing character. And Ryan Reynolds completely was, and I see, it's like when you see Robert Downey Jr. and you see him as Iron Man, or you see Henry Cavill and you see him as Superman, or you see Ben Affleck and see him as Batman. I still have faith that he'll come back. When you see Gal Gadot and see her as Wonder Woman, when I look at Ryan Reynolds, I see Deadpool. So that's how close this guy effectively like communicates being Deadpool, and that's why it's like so cool. X-Men 1, yes, because I think knowing what the other two movies are, I definitely agree with its placement as number 3, as in the top 5, because this movie started the universe. I'm not so. I mean, I get why they made like the black tactical like team uniforms, but actually no. I have no criticism for that because here's why. I know this is a really hot take, but just here's why. Hear me out. Because think of the context around which this movie came out. You had like Batman and Robin. The previous times they made a superhero movie and made these big colorful costumes, it wasn't that good. The audience wasn't ready yet for us to have all these like elaborate costumes. That's why, like, let me put it this way. In Avengers 1, they tried to make Captain America's legit comic costume, and it looked terrible. And when they updated it for like a modern audience, hence the more like tactical inspired Captain America suit, it looked way better. There you go. That's why I think they did that. And when I think about it that way, when I take that into consideration, I can definitely understand why they made that decision to, instead of giving them like their big colorful costumes, they gave them this suit. But I did like, if you notice the detail in the costume, the lines on the costume going down the torso, they had their like colors. I believe Wolverine had like gold trim on the costume. So it still was, granted to a small degree, somewhat criminally, it was still like some like tribute to his original costume. All right, X-Men 2, X-Men United. Love this movie so much because first off, it set up the Phoenix movie so well. Too bad it didn't stick to landing. But I also liked how, so you had Stryker, which they changed his origins from the comics. In the comics, he's not like some dude with a Black Ops unit, but I get what they were doing. And I liked how the school actually came under attack. And then I liked how they introduced like Deathstrike, and how they like, one of my favorite things, the X-Men team up with Magneto and then he immediately betrays them, because it's like he was teaming up with them to get what he wanted, where he made so the plot, one of the basic plots of the movie is that Stryker's son has like some type of like hallucinogenic power. He's a mutant. So his plan is, I'm going to build a Cerebro in the Alkali Lake facility, ironically, where they made Wolverine. And then I'm going to kidnap Charles Xavier, have my son make him like find all the mutants, but concentrate, because they established that when you're in Cerebro, if you concentrate on someone like really hard, you will kill them because of the mental strain. And then I love how Magneto, how like Stryker leaves, and then Magneto enters and then flips it and has them start targeting humans. That is so cool. And then you have that fantastic like speech at the end after Jean died, where Wolverine, where Professor X is talking to the president before the president signs this legislation that would basically like make life hell for mutants. He basically says, "Look, basically a speech to say, listen, we're with you. There are some of us that lose our way, but ultimately we're Americans just like you. We're people just like you. We want to help you." And I like how the president immediately flipped. And now I would agree with this being a number one. Days of Future Past was fantastic because it combined both eras of X-Men, the original movies and the new era, and did it seamlessly. And it basically it established the Sentinel program really well. It showed the dark dystopian future really well. We also had, what I liked is like a lot of like I would say like significant character development for Raven, aka Mystique. We saw her like actually save Trask, and so it basically showed that like it's another way of showing Eric is wrong. Mutants can live side by side with humans. And I just like that whole dystopian like world. I understand why they decided to send Wolverine back instead of Shadowcat, because in the comics they sent Kitty Pryde back in time. I get why they did that, because here's the thing, no one's going to see a Shadowcat movie. Everyone's going to see a Wolverine movie, and this was also a significant Wolverine movie. I also did like, by the way, how this movie was kind of foreshadowed, was like prequelled, if you will, by the Wolverine. When Wolverine's in airport security and they establish that Professor X is alive, well, they show him alive. So I liked how they did that. So those are all the X-Men movies ranked. I disagree with some of the positions. Like if I had to go with single movies, I would go with Logan on top, because that movie was just fantastic. They really, really nailed Wolverine, and such an emotional movie. And they made like that was like one of the first R-rated superhero movies. So I really, 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 plus I'm a big fan of that scene where Wolverine is reading X-Men comics. That is completely like so meta and so cool. So that's the list. Again, I agree with some points, but I disagree with others. But ultimately, most of it I agree with, particularly the number one choice. I disagree that like the Dark Phoenix movie was that bad. New Mutants, yeah, that was a pretty bad movie. Dark Phoenix, not necessarily, because it was, let me put it this way, if you took it and if you ignored the comics, it was a good movie. But they ignored significant parts of the storyline. Same thing with X-Men 3, which is why I think that Phoenix plot failed, because they ignored that. They made it so like in X3, the Phoenix was like another personality in Jean Grey, which I get that. And in a way, they do that in the comics and the X-Men animated series, but they didn't establish the Phoenix was like this force from outer space that was like this energy force from outer space. And they kind of did that in Dark Phoenix, but they left out the whole different personality in Jean. So both movies did like half of the job, but left out the other half. Other than that, Dark Phoenix is pretty good. So that's all I got for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I will see you next week where we'll cover an X-Men storyline. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is yet, but I have an idea in mind. It's a really good storyline. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. For those of you that went back to school, hope you guys have a great semester, and classes are out of session. Bye-bye.